to Imaginative Visions Journeys, where creators from the entertainment world discuss their journey to turning their dreams into reality. With your host, Justin D. Williams.
Welcome everyone to Imaginative Visions Journeys, and this will also be posted on talklesslygeeks.com. Justin here, and today we have a really special guest. Welcome, actress, singer, and she has a new show coming to New York City, Broadway, a play. It's called Lili/Darwin. Please welcome Darwin Del Fabro. Thank you. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
And let's just kick this off about the project. So the first question I have is, Lili and Darwin blends two stories, yours and Lili's. What drew you to the idea of paralleling these two journeys rather than just focusing on one?
Hmm. I think it's a mix of various things. One is just like not having stories like mine being told. Um, but I have in contact with the diary when I was 13 and in Brazil. And at that time, I didn't know the person I would become, the choices I would make. Um, but for some reason, I connected so much with her story. She transitioned later in life. She adopted the name of Ina Wagner before the transition, and once she was a painter and she started to paint, so she was an artist. And when she discovered that she could be a better version of herself. She started that journey independent of what society would think about it. And kind of what happened to me. I have been working professionally with theater and writing since I was 13, and I was successful doing that, but I had to stop everything to search my happiness and my beauty, and that happened 2 years ago. And going to that pause and surgeries, I started to see even more the similarities, and I want to play with that and create a play that I could involve the two stories in a way that I can send a message to the current state of our country.
And just let's touch on a little bit of that since this is a solo piece. So theater, acting, usually you have someone to piggyback off of, and just even when it comes to energy. And I know you've been rehearsing. Like, how's been rehearsing, and how are you preparing for that, knowing that there's not going to be anyone to kind of piggyback off besides the audience?
I know I'm crazy. I'm. It's been a challenge. The closest thing I have been working with musicals and plays, and I did a little television soap operas in Brazil, and then here in America I did a movie, but a one-woman show with no much props. It's no joke. It's a marathon, and I don't have. It's an hour show, and I don't have time to have a sip of water. The preparation, I think, being surrounded by coats, but it's because it's so close when I'm playing Darwin and Lily. It both actually are very close, and there are places that touch so deep. Um, it's challenging. I think the repetition and doing it and being in a live audience, that's the magic I think about theater, that we can invite an audience to breathe with me. It's very rewarding, but I think it's just the process of rehearsing. Unfortunately, in New York, we do not have much time rehearsing. I'm producing this play, and I'm very grateful to have the tank, which has rehearsal spaces, but there are a lot of things going on. So with the little time we have, we dig in and we take it very serious to deliver a serious and lovable performance for an audience.
And what would you say is the biggest challenge, because you're wearing many hats here? Like, what would you say was the one that took a little bit more time to get comfortable in those shoes in terms of the production because obviously you're producing, you're starring in it. So where do you feel like you need to be a little bit have the more energy towards you're like, okay, I gotta take care of this first and that way.
I think it's producing. I think that's the biggest hat. Having a team, even though a small show, you look back, you look, the rehearsal space, and there are 10 people involved, and you have to make sure that everyone is happy and excited about the work. I think that is and doing the logistics of everything to put it together a play in New York, which is a challenging place to
Yes.
put a work. Um, and then besides that, go to do a run of your show and be really focused on that. So I think there's a lot of challenges, but I think the main one is producing and a second language. I write in English. I think I write much better than I talk, but it's a challenge. It's a challenging to have to perform in this not your native language. But those challenges I think are the things that give me the fuel to and give me the excitement. I moved to New York. The pace here is different, and I kind of
Yes.
love it. So yeah.
New York is such a different being a New Yorker myself, it is such a different beast. Like when you travel to another state, you travel something, you're like, everything is so slow down here compared to New York, where everything is
Where
just
are you?
rushed. I'm in Long Island.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Every
The pace is in Long Island sometimes it's hard too, but
yes,
yeah, New York is just crazy.
yeah,
I love Long Island.
yes. But my next question will be this because you're doing part of your story and Lily's story too. Thematically, how did you manage to find the two voices to combine into this particular play?
Fortunately and unfortunately, they were very similar. I
Mhm.
think the diaries of Lili, they tell her journey between 1907 and 1930. The diary was published in 1933. And there are a lot of similarities with identity, with evolving. The surgeries at that time were different. The process of doing, she did three surgeries instead of as the main reassignment surgery, but there are some differences, and she didn't have inspirations because she was one of the first ones. But when I read the diary, I was just like, oh, this is kind of the same things that I'm feeling. The transphobia, unfortunately, it's very similar when it's bad. But there's the beauty too, the beauty of putting the first dress, discovering and going against has having the strength of going against everything because it's a journey that is really we are just bringing challenges
Yeah.
of in the middle of society, I think that's why trans folks are so uh, powerful because when we decided to do a transition, we're just bringing, unfortunately, problems in our workspace and in our relationships and everything. It's just a little more challenging, and we still do. And we still keep fighting. So to find ourselves, and I think besides that, talking in a play about transformation is about evolving. And I think that's something that everyone relates to because we want to become better versions of ourselves. We want to have the sympathy of understanding what is different and and understanding the process of why this person is who they are and because of the amount of facts that
Mhm.
brought them to this moment in this life. So I think there's a lot of similarities, a lot of differences, but that's what is the game is for, and that's why I put it 1907 to 2025, because in some moments you kind of like they were saying the same thing. I repeat the same phrases in both times, and people like, yeah, this could be in 2025, and oh, this could be in 1930, and yeah, it's the magic of it, of connecting with another human being, I think.
And speaking, I want to touch on that because in terms of transformation and trans people, especially in the arts, how
Uh-huh.
important is it for you, representation wise, to have this platform to not only tell your story, but just kind of be one of the keys to like, okay, now we have someone in our community that is doing a one woman show. It's possible for other trans actresses out there who want to do the same thing.
Well, I'm saying I'm very privileged. The reality is I'm doing a little theater here in New York,
Mm.
and I'm showing this and playing, even though I'm telling these two stories, and it is an important story. It's theater. The reality is the mortality of a trans woman in Brazil is 35 years old. We do not have the chance to graduate because we run out of our schools afraid of violence. Unfortunately, most of trans women have to do sex work to survive. So there is an urgency, right? That I'm a little away for because of my privilege. This is what I can do with my voice when I transitioned, and with the current situation of this country, for example, when we have politicians questioning the gender and all of our rights, what I can do, I can write. I can write and tell one more story, and tell in the beautiful way that people might connect. And the most important thing, I think, have sympathy, sympathy for another person. And then within that, telling that story, I learned to have sympathy for myself, sympathy for my body, for the choices I made. And so I think it's great to say, oh, I have a voice and I want to people to know, but I'm doing this not only for my community, but from people that are outside my community, for those who do not understand our struggles, and putting out there, I think I can bring them close. And of course, within that, I hope I have my community to proud of the work, and to be one more there, just being there. And that's the reality. I just want to be there.
And let's talk a little bit about the writing process in this because it has to be a little bit jarring at times too, especially when it's reflecting, you're adding bits and pieces of your life. Was there any time in the writing process where you were just like, not including that, no, or this might hit too hard, but I'm gonna put it in there so people can really see the experience of what I went through.
Um, I have always been writing for others,
Mm.
and I never wrote thinking about myself as a performer, and that was very helpful in the construction. I graduated in Portuguese literature, and all the work that I have done before, I never had that character of me as an actor in mind when I play those things. Of course, I bring realities of my culture, being Brazilian, or my queerness, or you know what I mean, and now my transition. So it's very related, but it's always camouflage of putting another body or another gender, or anyway. This When I decided to work on this, as private as I am, and I have been really private in my life, I said, if I'm putting my name there, it needs to be truthful, and this is the truth. And sometimes truth hurt, and but I'm trying, I try to be gentle with myself, and show the beauty in the process. but there are some confrontations that I have to go with. In the play, I have some moments that I have to revisit, and it is challenging, um but beautiful too. Beautiful to look back and say, "Oh, you were a fighter girl. You really did these things," and discovering and telling again and again because this is live theater. Um, it just makes you reassure of the choices you made and how proud I am of this whole process. So, and I want truth. That's I want the truth of a life story. So I don't want to pretend that I'm playing a character here. And to do that, you have to show the both sides, and that's what I'm doing.
And I always like to ask like the origin of the artist. Do you remember your first time getting on stage and what made you fall in love with the medium of obviously musician and acting? Do you remember what inspired you to become and choose this path?
Yeah, singing was when I was 3 years old. I won a singing competition, and I remember, oh, people like my voice, and that's interesting. And with theater, I started working professionally when I was 12, 13. But before that, I was doing like some school work, and I remember I think I was 8 or 9, and I went to this festival because we have a theater group in my school, and we have to travel. And I was, oh my God, I'm an adult here now. I'm taking a bus and traveling to this other city, which was like 30 minutes from where I lived. And being on the stage for the first time. My dad and mom were models, and then they did acting after. So I was always in that world, but having the independence of doing those things um, without them, I think that memory of 8 and 9 years old doing that festival, that theater festival in the city very close to mine was the moment that I was, oh, I have no. I think I had before because of the stage and the 3 years old, but 8, I think I was just like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
And I have two more questions.
Hmm?
The next question is, as a musician, are there any minor spoiler if there's are there any musical numbers in this particular play? Are you going to showcase that side of you?
I think it's always a melody. It's always a song. There is music there, but in a way that is it's very truthful, and doesn't involve much of a performance because everything that I do not want when I'm playing Darwin, not when I'm playing Lily, but when I'm playing Darwin is and it's seeing so much of a performance. I want to be real and be really me with my mistakes, with all the flaws that I have. I think that's the magic of doing theater, right? It's just life, and I'm not searching for perfection. I think that's boring. If I want a perfection, I go see a movie, and there's cutting and editing, and that's it. Theater, it's that rawness and people rooting for you to pass through whatever journey you're going through. So there is music, but it's styled in a way that it's very genuine and truthful to the story that I'm telling.
And my final question will be, with this particular story, what do you hope people take from it? You know, after they see the performance, what lessons that you think people should, or we'll say, understandings people should pick up, and hopefully be a little bit more, I would say, open-minded, and understanding of other people's journeys. Do you also see this evolving beside behind this current run, maybe perhaps taking this to a different city, different languages, and just traveling with this particular show?
I want all of that. I what I want people to take. I want them to take so many things. But first of all, I want them to come see at the show. I think that's the most difficult thing, making them come into the play and connecting to something that is different, but also you find similarities. I think the truth is theater is about connection and about seeing yourself in that story, even though it's not that we're talking about different cultures, different races, different backgrounds. We looked at that story and we bring something to us, something that touches us. And I think that's what I wanted with this play. First of all, I want you to be touched by that story, and I hope you see yourself and your transition of becoming a better version of yourself. Um, and that's the first and most important thing. Bring it to the theater and trying to um, bring that feeling of similarities between us. Because at the end of the day, I'm still discovering things, and we're all discovering, and we are reaching to become a better person or whatever. And within that is just telling the story of another trans woman, a very particular one, my story, and see that we are here and we're here to stay. And I want you to see beauty in that, and I want you to respect and to acknowledge that we are fighters. I think that's what I wanted them to take.
Thank you, Darwin.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for Imaginative Visions Journeys. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from Imaginative Visions, you can visit imaginativevisions.com.